Yeah, I wasn't really impressed by Evolve. I mean, seeing the gameplay and the talking to a few people. I don't know. I played a lot of Left 4 Dead and Left 4 Dead 2, but there's just something about it that just doesn't strike a chord with me.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the big hook with it is that there's a monster, one monster. It's not like a monster team, or it is a monster team, but there's only one monster on the team, and he does everything. And what he does, he's like Rex to the players. They're trying to track him over a large map and hunt him down.
So is the main monster, is that a human controlled monster,
yeah.
or is it AI controlled?
No. You play.
Okay.
You are the monster. I was the monster. I became the monster. So you start out on the map and you have a very brief period of time to move around a little bit and get away from the starting area where the players will spawn and then start hunting you down. And if you move around normally, you'll make footprints, which they kind of show up in the players. It picks it out with a little graphic, and you can say footprints here. If you run into a group of birds, they'll be like, they'll show a little computer data like, okay, monster last spotted here, essentially, right? So you feel like they're about to come after you, and it was a little scary the first time. The second time it was different. But
So the primary objective is to hunt, I guess, right? Like that.
if you're the human team, you're like, there's a big ass monster out there, and we need to go and kill it with with our weapons and class-based strategies.
So yeah, I mean, I guess that's the biggest difference. Left 4 Dead, it was survive and get from point A to point B, but this is more or less find the objective, which is the monster, and kill it.
Yeah, and for the monster, you want to either you wipe out the other team and get them, they're all dead at once, you win. Otherwise, if there's anyone left, a dropship will come in and reinforce them. When you evolve, the game's title is Evolve. When you're the monster, you evolve to level 3 by eating enough animals in the environment, which will actually attack players. So it's kind of, and if you're a small enough monster and they're a big enough, wildlife, they will attack you. So you want to, eat, get big, and at level 3, they're like, okay, there's a timer, there's a generator somewhere on the map, and if you can kill the generator, it'll let loose 12 scientists. If you murder all the scientists, you can win that way. If the other team is just not, if they're not committed to murdering you, and it doesn't end like that, then the monster has a way to do that.
Do you have to play against another human? Like, is there any way to play against AI soldiers or an AI monster?
This is the one game mode that they showed, and they did have AI bots that would come in, like if a player fell off the network, which happened a couple of times, it would be replaced by an AI character, and then if another player came in, they could join and take over that character. So there is AI. I don't know if I assume that they would, throw in some AI for the monster if the guy got disconnected. Otherwise, it's like your game is kind of over, right? If the monster's just going to sit there and die. But yeah, it's certainly, really multiplayer-focused game.
It seems like as the hunters, you would want to work together to use your skills to kind of track down the monster. But my question is, you said you had multiple ways to victory as the monster. You played a couple of times. What was the most successful thing for you? Like, did you try to isolate them and pick them off one by one? Or did you try to go after the generator and the scientist? Like, what was the most success that you found?
Right. Yeah, I feel like, we'll get the flavor of the monster experience first before we get into the class dynamics and, the multiple. Basically, the classes are like a character type, and there are different individual characters within that type. Honestly, it reminded me a tiny bit of like League of Legends or something with champions that fulfill these roles, and you jump in and you have the same job to do, but you have different tools. As the monster, though, at first I was like, I didn't really know what I was doing, and I'm like, how strong am I at level 1? Maybe not that strong. So the first thing I tried to do is like run off and eat some things. The guys were on me pretty quickly, so at first I was retreating a lot. And the developer was playing the trapper role, which I think was a really effective one for someone who knows what they're doing, because they can hit you with a harpoon that kind of holds you in place. So you're trying to run and climb on something, and they'll grab you with a harpoon and be like, nope, and you're like, whoa. And so then you have to turn around and, attack the tether that's holding on to you. You can also put up a force barrier, which is, it isolates a pretty wide area. So if he tosses this kind of, grenade, it puts up a barrier. And then you're stuck in there with those guys.
I'm assuming the guys can run in and out of it, but you can't? Or is everybody trapped in there?
Usually the teams kind of stick together and it does cover a wide area, so I didn't see anyone trapped on the outside. I assumed that maybe, whoever's in there is in there.
I mean, that's very different from Left 4 Dead. Left 4 Dead, you get 15 feet away from your group. It's over,
Right.
No, and then at that point it becomes just leave him,
Yeah, exactly.
he's dead,
Right.
just keep going.
Get to the safe
But I
house.
kind of
Yeah.
like that. Some of my favorite Left 4 Dead memories were when one guy would win.
Right.
We were all dead, and the credits would say, like, in loving memory of...
Right, but with this, it sounds like they're taking the moments that made that fun and making that into just a little subsection of the experience for this. Like, I guess towards the end, you say that there's like a drop ship that comes if you're playing as the hunters.
There's always, the dropship reinforces the hunters. When you die, you get put on a timer, so you have to sit out for a couple of minutes. If your homies don't all wipe, the thing comes in and then reinforces with, the extra dude. It drops the guy off again.
So the end game is either the monster kills everyone.
The monster you can win at any time if you can just wipe them out.
Right.
And for the guys, they pretty much need to take down the monster.
Okay, so it's one of the that's how the game is going to win or
it's
lost.
all about death. But the Left 4 Dead parallels, even though it does feel a lot different, but you can still tell, you can draw the lines. Honestly, the hunters, they feel like special infected, but with a really broad moveset.
It wasn't, you weren't just classes in Left 4 Dead, right? You were characters. Like, I
Oh,
still
right. Yeah,
fondly
it's
remember
survivors.
Ellis. I really like Coach. I like Zoe, Bill, and just like the little things in Left 4 Dead that gave it a ton of personality when they would scream at each other for pills, right? Do these
Bill's here.
feel like just classes, or do they feel like characters? Do they have some identity to them?
Well, like I said, the hunters here feel more like the special infected in that they're specialized.
Right.
But, they have some human personality. It didn't feel like it's on the level of the survivors, although, when like the trapper would put on things like, yeah, whatever you call this sensor thing going down. And I'm like, do you mean it's going up? Or, I guess that's the way. It goes down and then the coverage goes up. I don't know, but they do have a little bit, but at the same time, I can't really like pick out one character or remember one character's name other than Markov, the assault guy, and that's just because, a big, giant Russian assault dude, that's like the archetype sticks to my memory, I'm like, oh, it's a Markov. That makes sense,
I thought there was a nice through line between all the levels in Left 4 Dead.
Right.
And I wonder what kind of through line you're going to have. Like, you finish one match, and then it's like you move on to the next one. Are all four of them like, well, let's just go hunt another one? Like, in Left 4 Dead, it's like, well, now we made it here, so now we got to get there in Chapter 2 out of 4, to really succeed at that whole campaign. It's like, what does a campaign look like?
Right. Who knows? Maybe it's hunting down and killing all the different monster types. It's like, we're going to rid this planet of all the giant fucking monsters. I don't know. But yeah, for campaign stuff, I wonder.
And I was very from watching the B-roll and seeing the MMO styled visuals and the heal ray.
That's kind of harsh.
And
MMO style visuals.
That's Elder Scrolls Online wishes it looked like that.
It's just like you got a guy.
The monster has battle damage.
Okay, it looked like
Team.
it looked like Team Fortress raid encounter for me, just on its surface, just looking at it. But after hearing you talk about it and actually talk about the experiences playing as the monster, it sounds much more enjoyable and much more realized than I thought.
And I really, want to see more monsters or monsters that operate in a different way, or monsters that get a little more sneaky. This one's like the giant bruiser gorilla. You have ranged attacks, you have closed attacks, you can pounce. Kind of the all-arounder, I guess I would imagine he is. So.